So there is a story that came out yesterday from the American Prospect, which, by the way, is a great outlet. It's David Dayen's outlet. He does serious reporting on like corruption and economics and Wall Street, and it doesn't get its due. Like, you don't hear anybody talk about this. You don't see it out there much, but man, everybody should check out the American Prospect because it's phenomenal work. Anyway, there's this piece I saw yesterday. It's titled How the GameStop Hustle Worked, How Hedge Funds and Brokers Have Manipulated the Market. I'm not going to get into all the details of it because if I'm being totally honest with you, I read the article 3 or 4 times, and it's a long article, and I still don't grasp all the different pieces of it because I'm not as deep in the financial world as perhaps I should be. And so a lot of the stuff they're talking about are things that are above all of our pay grades. Short squeezes. Let me give you, I don't have the full article actually pulled up, but there's calls and there's puts and there's short squeezes and there's all these different, basically casino capitalist bets that they're referring to in this piece. And I'll read you the beginning part because you can get the gist of it just from this beginning part, but I'll leave the link in the video description box, and if you want to try to go through the whole thing to get a better understanding of what happened, do exactly that. So I'll leave that link, expand that video description box below, and you'll see the link. Just read the whole article because I highly recommend it. There's nothing I could say that could give it, like, its full justice, you know? So anyway, here's the beginning of the article. I have written previously for the Prospect about the frenzy over GameStop, the video game and electronics company. By now, you know the story. Millions of retail investors made the stock soar by over 1,000% in January 2021. This brought disaster upon a handful of hedge funds that had bet on GameStop stock to drop. According to Markets Insider, one analyst estimated losses in February of roughly $19 billion. The hedge fund Melvin Capital reportedly closed out its position after taking a drubbing of 51%. Another fund, Maplelane, lost 40%. The rally eventually subsided and the stock fell, though it remains well above its original price. But as retail investors looked into the details in the aftermath, they found telltale signs of a common yet egregious trading fraud by major brokers and hedge funds, which evaded what could have been far bigger losses. What happened around GameStop can be explained only by massive counterfeiting of shares. The Securities and Exchange Commission, which, along with other regulators, could confirm whether the patterns seen in GameStop trading constitute fraud, has known about and largely ignored practices like this for years. The financial media also ignores this systemic corruption. So, read the whole article, link in the video description box. I know there's some percentage of you that are really into finance. In fact, I read it so many times and struggled so much with it, I reached out to my buddy who is in finance to get his opinion on it, and he sort of explained to me what he makes of it all. But the gist of it is exactly that. That what happened around GameStop can only be explained by massive counterfeiting of shares. So in other words, it appeared like the whole thing went away at some point. It was this huge story in the news, and then all of a sudden, one week, boom, it's gone. It's out of the news. Nobody's even talking about it anymore. How did that happen? Did the energy behind it just naturally subside? Well, maybe to some extent. But in reality, what they're saying is the hedge funds are committing fraud at a mass systemic scale in order to quell their own losses, in order to try to get away scot-free. And listen, a lot of people say this is still going on right this second, that there's deep market manipulation, even to the point where a lot of these trading apps, they still don't let you buy GameStop. So it seems like there's this just massive collusion to protect the hedge funds and to screw the people on Reddit who are in the meme world and who decided, let's run this thing up, you know? So the most important point to bring up in the context of this story, and believe me, the rot goes deep. One of the senses you'll get from the story if you read it is that they're literally just like making shit up in regards to the stock. They're counterfeiting it. And the sense you get is They're doing it because they know they can get away with it, and they know they can get away with it because of regulatory capture. Namely, you have the hedge funds, the moneyed interests, effectively have bought the government. And so they know these guys aren't really going to crack down on us too much. You know, very similar to the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. Super similar to that. You had a lot of these companies dealing in subprime mortgages. They bought the ratings agencies who then would say, oh, these packages are AAA. So in other words, it's a super safe investment. It's AAA rated. You're not going to lose money on that shit. But in reality, it was total trash. And it wasn't AAA. The reason they were getting the AAA ratings is because they bought the ratings agencies. I mean, listen, I'm sure a lot of that is going on here, where the hedge funds, the moneyed interests, have connections, whether it's at the regulatory agencies or whether it's just the entire federal government, because they pay their bribes to the politicians. And so they know they're largely going to get away with it. And the game is rigged in their favor. You know? Meme lords on Reddit are not bribing the government. They're regular people. And so this was like a real revolt against Wall Street. And it seemed like out of nowhere it kind of went away. Turns out it didn't really go away. Turns out it's still going on, and they're still trying to rig it against the regular people. And really, that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. But what is surprising is the scale of it. What is surprising is that, as the American Prospect points out, listen, the Securities and Exchange Commission can look into this and verify everything we're saying, but they give detail as to, like, here's exactly how it's going down. Here's exactly what's happening. Here's exactly why this is bullshit. It's fraudulent. They're counterfeiting it. They're doing all these tricks and these lies to get away with it, and it looks like they're going to fucking get away with it. So there needs to be some sort of brave whistleblower or something at the SEC or at one of these regulatory bodies or even at these hedge funds, somebody who grows a conscience and is like, what the fuck are we doing? To really come out and blow the lid off this whole thing, but who knows if that's going to happen because the system is rigged. Looks like it's going to continue to be rigged, and all these people are getting fucked, man. So, in other words, the story didn't just go away. The story continued, but there were a number of tricks behind the scenes to try to protect the hedge funds, you know? And we already know, previously we went into the details of this when the story originally was happening. There's some shady connections, man. Shady connections between the hedge funds and these apps that you go to trade stocks, where, the hedge funds sort of fund the apps, and so the apps were responding to possible pressure behind the scenes from the hedge funds, where they're like, okay, we're going to make it so that you can't purchase GameStop anymore. We'll make it so you can sell it still, but you can't purchase it anymore. Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So not only is the stock market a casino, it is a rigged casino. And the moneyed interests always end up winning. And there's a great example of it here. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.